Hey now, this is J.M. Wilke, Director of Sales Ops at Qualia, coming at you here on the SaasHoles podcast, one of the best podcasts you'll ever listen to, Rev Ops with an edge. Let's go.
Welcome to SaasHoles, a show dedicated to issues within the software as a service industry. We are revenue ops with a
edge.
Jamie, Jason, KG, and myself, Pete, have a combined 100 years of making interesting decisions. Please subscribe to our weekly newsletter. Okay, today our guest is J.M. Wilke. J.M. Wilke is Director of Sales and Operations at Qualia. Qualia is the leading digital closing platform used by real estate professionals, title and escrow operators, lenders, proptech companies. What's a proptech company? And homebuyers in the United States. J.M. is a successful salesperson, sales manager, SDR manager, and director of sales ops sales ops in Texas. From slangin, is that slangin? Slingin ice cream in Sacramento as a child to planning her days and weeks in advance to optimize her days as a working mother. JM covers a lot of ground and gets shit done. Can we say shit? Before we get to JM, hey, we got a sponsor for the show, NeuroNoodle. Hey, parents and athletes, get a doodle or noodle. It's a brain map. Hey, we're in playoff season. Better get that brain checked out, get a baseline to compare it to in case you go to the finals. You get a physical every year, right? Well, get a brain checkup before the season's over. Carney.
Yeah, Pete.
KG.
I'm just hoping you just pick on Jamie this time around.
Yeah.
Carney.
Yes, Pete. Go with your bad joke.
I was wondering why this Frisbee kept looking bigger and bigger, and then it hit me. Leave us some comments on our blog at saasholes.net. Got any shout-outs, guys? KG?
I have a few shout-outs. I want to give the nice guy shout-out to happy birthday to Ricky Black, formerly of ZipRecruiter, not Ricky Bobby, by the way, not Ricky Bobby, it's Ricky Black. He's now a major accounts in healthcare with Career Builder. Maybe you guys have heard of that company. And happy birthday to TJ Hennessy, who's the VP of Global Revenue at Bird. That's the Bird Scooters. I remember when he was just a graduate at USC, and now he's
that Bird
Revenue. That's the one. Yes, ranked #1. And then a congratulations to Mr. Cameron Sides for being promoted to agency advisor, enterprise sales at ZipRecruiter. Great golfer, wonderful guy. Those are my shout outs, and I'm sticking to them.
Carney?
Rob Wittes. You remember Rob Wittes, right, Pete?
Is that how you pronounce it? Wittes?
Yeah.
He's very Wittis. Whites.
Enterprise Data Governance Senior Advisor of Pro Unlimited. Now, he had one of the greatest nicknames. I don't think he knew what his nickname was, nor do I think he listens to the show. Meatloaf. Yeah. Because he would go in there and say, I can do anything. And then he would never do that, whatever that was. We'd be like, can you do this? Nope, can't do it. So we called him Meatloaf.
All right.
And then Andy Williams for 2 years.
Great singer.
Yeah, I figured you'd like him. Andy Williams, 2 years at Flexera. And David Fahey, this guy I knew at Performix and these other companies. He just graduated from Northwestern University's graduate program. So I want to give him a shout out. Those are my three.
Enjoy your debt, kid. Hey, Tyler Mose, 2 years at E3M Creative. Congrats. John Doherty, PMP, 11 years at Siemens Industry. And then Wendell Brenner, old school, 2 years at Zepp Inc., inbound wonder kid. And then I guess we got to say something to Joel Cheeseman for 2 years at Rectext.
Rectum? I don't even know him.
If it's Joel I think if it's Joel Cheeseman, it's more like Rectum. All right.
Do you know Kevin? Do you know who Joel Cheeseman is?
Of Chad and Cheese, yes.
Yeah,
but I don't know him.
He's the Perez Hilton of the job boards.
Yes, I've listened to his stuff, and it was just cringy to listen to him talk about ZipRecruiter when he didn't know what he was talking about.
Yeah,
he's a D-bag. So is his partner, his socialist partner.
Oh man.
Here we go.
This is where we go off the rails.
Let's get into our main topic before we go off topic.
Yeah, seriously.
KG, who do you got on the show today? Who is this person?
Well, I am very excited about having J.M. Wilke. Jean Marie.
That's right. Very good.
Did my research. Yes. J.M. Wilke. Let me just say that I listened to attended a webinar a couple years ago when I was at ZipRecruiter, and we were looking to build out our very first operations team. And when I listened to JM speak on this webinar through the AAISP, I was so impressed. And I reached out to her afterwards. I said, listen, can I just pick your brain, of course, which is a veiled recruiting attempt, by the way. and of course, I was very unsuccessful in acquiring JM, at the time. But here's the funny small world story. I was on a podcast with Richard Harris and Scott Leese about a year later. And Scott asked me, he said, hey, when you're building out your sales team, what's the very first hire that you would make? And I gave some sort of answer of SDR or whatever it was. And I said, well, Scott, what would you hire? And he goes, I would hire a director of sales operations, and I would hire J.M. Wilke. And he just said it out loud. There you go. And I thought, my word. So she really is the bomb diggity. And so I'm, very, very excited to have a true Rev Ops professional on our podcast today. J.M. Wilke, thank you so much for coming on the show.
I'm very excited to be here and chat with you three crazy guys.
We need to put in some applause there, right, Pete?
That or
with your sound effect options, you need to put in like a round of applause.
Yeah, the background, the Brady Bunch of cans, laughter, and whatever. Do that.
Yeah, so. I think you guys covered it.
Well, Jamie, you wanna take some from
so
here?
I do, so I'm a revenue ops guy myself, and I had a couple questions. I know I wrote them in there this morning. It was Halloween. I hope everyone's recovered from, I have 4 kids, so I'm never recovering, period. Halloween ate into my
year round for you.
Very sore. Yeah. So one of my questions is, I wrote down is in today's climate and regarding revenue operations, what's the biggest pain point that you're encountering or your sales teams are encountering in terms with just selling, selling in general?
Yeah. I mean, so the biggest thing that our revenue operations is solving for, right, is one of the things of just breaking down silos, having the right hand talk to the left. And so one of the pain points is, revenue ops is still a newer thing. You got into it, I would say, on the earlier side, but revenue ops concept is definitely something that's newer to orgs. And so it's getting used to having a better way to share the insights so that your right hand is talking to your left hand, that you're speaking the same language as an org, you're looking at the same reports, you're deriving insights off the same things, and just having all of those silos be gone so that you can be smarter, make better decisions, and drive that revenue forward.
Yeah, in my opinion, revenue operations prior to it actually becoming a thing was champions within the company would do the revenue operations role. And the problem was, I say champions. So then we would, one champion would go into a room with another champion, and then they would say, well, my numbers are this and your numbers are this. And it would just create complete chaos and no one believing in the numbers. And so I think one thing with revenue operations, people in general, is a consistency. If you don't have this role in place, because Rev Ops people are dealing with marketing, dealing with finance, dealing with sales ops, dealing with deal desk, value desk, pricing, packaging, all of that type of stuff. If you don't have that, what you're going to do is eventually you're going to create multiple champions, and then those multiple champions are going to go into a room and battle it out, and no one's going to get anything done. And there was a previous company that I was at that basically that's what it was champion battles all day long. personally, I would just sit there and be like, this is stupid, and go ahead and believe whatever you want to believe, because this is just a waste of time. So that's one thing. So what I'm hearing from you is a lot of your pain points in the revenue operations role is probably still, because it is new, is just coordinating all that data and trying to make sure everyone's looking off the same stuff, right?
Exactly, right? You are the brain center of the org is kind of how I think about it, right? And so you got to make sure that everything is connecting right and that we're all driving forward on the same goals. All the stuff is good there so that you can check all the boxes and just hit your go-to market strategy.
Okay, now one of my questions really is, since COVID, sales, not sales ops, but sales, what have you seen has changed in your company or anything like that that has impacted the sales process? You know, the sales process to me and the sales operations is always trailing what's actually happening in the field by 2 to 3, maybe 6 months, depending, or longer if you're not really. But there might be some pivot in the company. It takes a while for sales, for us to realize all of sales is starting to do this, because usually one sales rep starts talking to another sales rep and then they start doing that. What have you noticed change occur since COVID in your role? Or not in your role, but in sales in general?
Or sales in general. I mean, overall, our sales team, the change was actually for the better. We're the only real cloud competitor in the market. And so the sales process for us, what changed for us is that because we're all in this remote world, there's a little bit more light being shown on all the different activities. And so the reps are, being more specific with how they're actually doing things. So whether it's you have a team that's trying out, mutual action plans and driving those home, right? And then it starts kind of picking up, or how we, overturn and change how we forecast and the cadence that we do that in, and how deep we go on pipeline management or the warning signs that we look for. And so I would say overall, it's a matter of, people have gotten, I think, almost better at doing, the specific things that lead to a deal.
Yeah, pipeline management's a tough one always. Because once you say people you're looking at pipeline, guess what? Pipeline occurs.
Isn't that crazy?
It's amazing. All of a sudden I got $1 million deals all over the place.
Right. You're telling me that your team is, JM, has, what you've seen as a change is that salespeople, at least in your experience and your team, have gotten better at following some of these best practices and playbooks to create quality pipeline. Is that measured by forecast accuracy? What are you saying?
Yeah. So, well, I mean, really at the end of the day, it's measured by revenue, right? And how we're doing as a company. And so that's exactly what I'm saying is, because you're in this world where all you can rely on is not just going next to a person and seeing how they're talking and having conversations. You're relying on tools to kind of tell you that stuff. And so, I think that it's really helped up level the teams overall. From the top down, right? We can drill down better. We can enforce things better so that we can be smarter about how we use the data. And just all in all, just been a positive change for, something terrible like COVID.
Yeah. So you said tools. Are you using any different tools in your role today than you were? Or maybe you had certain tools in your bag that you weren't really utilizing as much? But now that it's a remote team, are you using different tools or those tools differently?
I wouldn't actually say that we're using them super different. I just am continuously, we're pushing each other to drill down and use the tools deeper so that, the adoption of the tool is better, right? I would say that probably if you think of like using it differently, it's just using more of what each of the tools have, right? Yeah. Because it is, we're in this world where you don't get the coaching that's the, hey, try this, or hey, we're in this meeting and, why don't you try this, or whatever it may be. It becomes, they're your eyes and your ears are using these tools. And so it's going to be a way to be more efficient just as a seller, and go deeper. And so all these tools also are now, adding in the last year to have really accelerated, I would say. So we use, Gong, we use Outreach, and both of those tools are just, at an accelerated rate, adding, so many different things that you can do. So they're not just what they were even when we started COVID, right? They're a different beast. And so it's been exciting ride. And, they continue to knock those out. I would say the one that we probably could do a better job at, that we should be, that is huge, I think, in this COVID world, is something like a Guru, a knowledge management system, or a high spot type thing. We really scratch the surface with that, and think can really help, with battle cards and closing more deals and things like that people can just pull up like that.
Would you be comfortable running down your whole tech stack?
Yeah.
Wait, yeah. Tell us what you use, and I'm going to be shocked. I guarantee I'm going to be shocked at the breadth of systems and tech you're using.
You might be shocked at how lean we are. I think that one of the most important things with a tool stack is, well, one, it's going to be different for every business, right? What works for me might not work for you. So that's a really important one. And then it's, making sure you go deep on them. So what's the adoption on it? And then lastly, staying as lean as you possibly can. I'm not about to go pay for a tool if I know that nobody's going to use it. So either prove to me that you're going to use it, or so like for us, LinkedIn Navigator, so many people have, I want to use it. We did trials. Guess what? No one used the damn thing.
I found the same thing, mother effer. Exactly. And you know what my salespeople said, JM? They said, I gave them a choice. I said, would you rather have Zoom info licenses, or would you rather have Sales LinkedIn Navigator, or LinkedIn Sales Navigator? And unanimously, it was, just give us more credits to Zoom info licenses we have. I'm like, that is shocking. I found the same exact thing. And LinkedIn Sales Navigator is super expensive.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of these tools are not cheap anymore. I mean, so if you go from our tool stack kind of top to bottom, and it's changed a little bit in the last couple of months, but basically it's, we got to know who to target. So having the right Salesforce, the system of record, blah, 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 all that stuff. Then making sure that we can target them with the right messaging. So, being smart about how we do our outreach, who we talk to, and then having those better conversations. So utilizing outreach and Gong, again, pretty standard stuff. And then from there, it's about how do we make sure that the reps are continuing to learn more. So through our, Guru, right, knowledge management, as well as Lessonly, for making sure that the reps can, continue to accelerate. And then enriching our database, we use Sales Intel, familiar with Zoom Info. Our industry is tricky for finding contacts. There aren't a lot of databases that care about the title industry. I don't think it's a big money maker. And then also most recently, Clary. And so Clary is one that we've been doing forecasting, but excited to really start using a really well-known tool to do that.
Forecasting, does that have to do with like a cadence meeting? Is that like liar's poker? How do you do cadence meetings over there? If so, how does that go down? Just curious.
Yeah, so it's funny. So we're actually in the process of revamping it. So we have a new enterprise leader. So I'll walk you through kind of what that's going to look like. But really for us, it's, we went from a world where we had no structure. We didn't have aligned definitions. One team was doing, kind of what I said a couple minutes ago. One team was doing one thing, then the other team was doing another thing. Reps didn't care, they didn't believe in it. And so it's a whole new thing. So having a cadence of, do you use this meeting to do quarter look back? Do you do this meeting for risk assessment? And so just building that into whatever cadence works for your leadership across the quarter so that you can, surprise, surprise, hit your goals.
What's the current multiple? Oh, Carney's muted himself. That's beautiful. I like you like that. What multiple are we using out there for the funnel if we got a goal to hit? Is it 3x, 4x, 5x? What do you guys do over there?
Great question.
Yeah. So we look at 3 to 4x for pipeline.
Got it.
And does that usually work for you?
Yeah, I would say for some business units. For other business units, I would say, we're testing different things, right? We have different business units that reach out to very different people. And so we're, with newer products in some. And so we're really trying to figure out and play around with those numbers to really see, what makes sense there.
Do me a favor.
That's been the standard.
No, JM, that's great. I mean, we've talked about that as, dyed-in-the-wool salespeople for years. Do me a favor, for some of the newer leaders that are listening to the show, explain what that means. If you're new to sales leadership or sales operations, and Pete says, hey, this multiple to help you hit your goals. Do me a favor, explain that to me as if I'm a 3-year-old. What does he mean by that, JM?
He means if you need to make $10, then you need to go make sure that you have $30, $40 in the bank so that you can go and hit that.
And when you say bank, you mean pipeline, right?
Pipeline, yes.
Correct. And getting more specific again for the newer leaders listening to the show, does this mean that if I have a quota of 100K this quarter, that I should have $400,000 slated to close this quarter, or $400,000 total?
Yeah, so you really want to look at it rolling, right? So you want to make sure that you constantly have enough to hit that goal in whatever that time frame is.
Got it. So if I'm coming into, it's November 1st, perfect timing, and my quota this quarter is $100,000. I should have $400,000 of quota across all time periods at all times. November 1st, December 1st. I should always have that 4x multiple of pipeline across all dates and time periods relative to my current quarterly quota or annual quota. Am I hearing you right?
To whatever time period you're looking at, right? So if you're looking at the quarter and you say, I need to close $100,000 within that certain time period, then you need the 4x. Yeah, that's how we look at it.
Yeah, very good. Thank you for that. I appreciate the explanation there. Our listeners would love that. Jamie, keep going, man. You're doing great.
I was curious how you look at it, Jamie. How do you? What did you?
Well, it all depends. I think it depends on stage, late stage versus early stage. It also depends on sales cycles. So I would imagine, like, if you have long sales cycles, you better have stuff in late stage and how you look at it, right? And so I think that becomes, 2.5 to 3 is what you want in late stage. If you're a volume, you probably need 4 to 5 for volume, because you're going to miss more than win, or lose more than win, and all those opportunities. Yeah. And we all know, guys, when we're saying 2.5 to 3 or 4, that carve out 25-30% is bullshit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just not going to happen.
No, you don't say. I have the best, strongest pipeline that there is.
Yeah. The biggest bane of every company's existence is forecasting.
Yes.
You do this. There's so much time wasted on forecasting. There's so much time wasted on just guessing a number that you're never right on. If you're a sales leader out there, deliver what you say you're going to deliver. That's all. Even if it's below your quota. If you deliver what you say you're going to deliver, it's much better than if you don't deliver what you're going to deliver. And maybe you even hit quota. I would say that's worse, because the company is forecasting up expectations. So you need to deliver what you're going to deliver. And that art is gone. And a lot of it is just because there's so much bullshit in the data. I mean, think about this. And I'm going to go on my rant. Imagine we were playing basketball, and at halftime, there was no scoreboard up there or anything like that. At halftime, I gave every player that was in the game a sheet and said, tell me how many points you had, rebounds you had, and assists you had. And then I compiled that and said, here's the score. That's exactly what we're doing in Salesforce, right? We're sitting there saying, hey, sales reps, report what you did, report your own score. That makes no sense. We've got to overhaul that and we've got to fix that. And so a lot of these tools do that. I think some of them do it good. Some of them do it okay. I don't think there's any tool out, or I know of a couple, but I don't think there's any great tools out there that do it great besides a handful that sort of do truth serum type of stuff.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing that I'm noticing though in a lot of these tools is they are starting to go deeper. So you get, you look back a couple of years ago, it was such a fragmented industry of tools. And so you'd have to get 10 different tools to do those different things and then kind of take it and compile it. And these tools are starting to either through, purchasing companies and acquiring them and that kind of thing. I've been noticing that you're starting to see these tools be able to go deeper to offer more of those insights. So it's like you add the coaching piece of the pipeline inspection, and then you also layer that in with the forecast so you can kind of weed out the bullshit. So
there's still a ton of noise. There's still a ton of noise in the revenue operations world. There are tools out there that say, hey, I do this, and they don't really do it. They sort of half-ass do it, and it doesn't really give you the full. And sales guys are the best at sniffing out bullshit, right? So a sales rep on your team, you install some sort of program and says, I know what you're doing. I know what you had for dinner last night. And they say, no, you didn't. Well, guess what? They're not going to tell you that. They're going to be like, yeah, you're right. And then laugh behind your back all day long because they know you don't know what you're doing. And then they just figure out how to trick that system, and I'm not saying sales reps trick systems. I'm just saying, guys, you got to make their life easier. But at the same time, they've got to deliver what they said they're going to deliver. And when they don't deliver what they're going to deliver, they should feel a lot of pain. And the really good reps deliver what they're going to do. And you sort of let them be. The reps that are in between, especially in today's environment where they can go find a job tomorrow, those are the reps that you've got to be on top of because they're not delivering what they say they're going to deliver. Boom, now I need to check what's going on. And now I need to know, hey, if you have 500 meetings in the last 3 weeks and you have 0 created pipeline, there's probably a problem here. And you need to either move that person out or say, hey, you're self-reporting bullshit. Sorry, I'm getting on my rants. I could go off on this.
No, this is great. This is great. Jamie, so I want to hear what JM says. I definitely want to hear what Jamie has to say as well here. Let me give you 4 scenarios.
Okay, let's hear it.
At the end of the quarter, you are at 120% to your forecast. That's option 1. Option 2, you are at 5% above your forecast. Option 3, you're 5% below your forecast. And option 4, you're 20% below your forecast. Which is better? Which is the best? Where would you rather be? Would you rather be like way below your forecast, 5% your forecast, 5% above your forecast, or 20% above your you blew your forecast away? Which is JM? What's the right answer there? And by the way, there could be an option E that I'm not.
I'm going to say there. Neither. You want to hit like what Jamie said. You want to hit your forecast. So whether you are 5% above or 5% below, you didn't hit it. Now, is that realistic? No, because exactly like you said too. It's pretty tough to hit it right on the head. And so, I'd obviously rather be above than below, but. Curious.
Great. What about 120? Will you blow your forecast away at 120% of your forecast?
Then you're like way off, and then they're like, "How the hell did you not see this coming?"
Exactly.
Carney, can't you do a comp plan on that for the leader to pay them on a multiple of what?
Accelerate that.
Yeah, you can't. You can. It's very difficult because.
Well, no, if you forecast 120%, you'll get a shitload of money at that 120%. If you don't,
right? So if you're saying like if you hit your forecast, then you get a multiplier.
Right.
You got to remember though, Pete, they're already got accelerators in there. So if they get to 120%, that might outweigh the 100%. caveat.
I know, but
accelerator
that's
that you
why we have finance guys like you to take it away from the underperformers.
So to answer your, well, I got something, Kevin, KG, I think you said it great. Is I would say plus or minus 5% is a tolerable variance. You obviously want to go plus than minus, but I really think outside of that, if you're outside of that, I need to know what your quota is. Because if you're 120% and you're 120% of quota, then I know you're not good at forecasting, but you're above quota. And I'm gonna, you know, give you some grief, but at the same time back off, right? But if you're at 20%, or you're at 120% or 20%, and you're half your quota, you're in big trouble.
Mhm.
If you're half your quota and you're at plus or minus 5%, I'm going to sit there and say, let's take a look. Let's see if we can coach this person, blah, 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 blah. Maybe there's not enough opportunities, especially if you're a leader. Maybe there's some sales reps bringing you down, but you do know your business. You don't know your business if you have a bigger variance. And then if you don't know your business and you're not performing, it's not good news.
Well, and to JM's point though, and this is, she said it very subtly, but it's like, it makes the Rev Ops team look like they don't know what the hell they're doing. They don't have a handle on the pipeline, because you might go, oh my gosh, yes, 120 to our forecast. No, that is not a good thing, because that means you've got a bunch of sandbaggers where you didn't forecast properly. A bunch of bluebirds, flew through the window. And while you're going to celebrate that internally, that you hit more than you actually did, that visibility and accuracy then kind of goes away. And you're like, gosh, is it possible we could be then minus 20% to our forecast because we just didn't have visibility there? And JM, am I right? Like it?
Yeah.
I
mean, unless
you're
it's like
happy
some random, one deal that did it, that was a monster or something. It's a little different than having, 10 deals that hit in the last couple of weeks. So just, it's taking the situation and the story, but it all goes back to diving deeper. And I think, we can always do a better job at it. I would say, it has to be something that, you have a cadence and things like that, but we can always be, taking a tweaking here, tweaking there, right? Like, how do we better help people to do that? So that, they can hit their forecast too, right? Like, it's a failure on me if we're not, going deeper on the pipe. And these managers are saying, it's like really, really hard to do pipeline management, or, which leads to the inaccurate forecast. And so that's on us and working together, right, as a team, because a rep should be excited about these pipe meetings. And I would say a lot of times reps are like, ugh, have a pipe meeting with my manager.
Yeah, I would say, guys, reps out there and stuff like that, well deals are great, but wells cost our CROs and VP of sales jobs, and a lot of times cost the revenue ops people jobs as well. So if you have a well deal, you better have it locked down. And for the rev op people, if it is a well, like it's huge, it might triple your output, you should almost forecast that separately from the rest of the herd, so that the board and the executive level know, hey, we're 3.5 if we do this, or we're $500,000 if we don't. And that's what we're planning on doing this month. You need to call that stuff out, because it is crazy when the whales don't come in. Never estimate half a whale. It's a deal or it's not. You can't take half the deal because you can't forecast it. But I do think forecasting is the bane of everyone's existence, and the more we can figure out how to fix that and operationalize that, the better.
Hey, Rev Ops people, it's fourth quarter. We're going into holiday season. What all you Rev Ops people do to get ready for the next year? What's going on? I'll hang up and listen for my answer.
I bet you, by the way, I think Jamie's going to say, we already did it. Knowing JM, she's like, we're already done with planning, right?
Well, we're finalizing, but go ahead, Jamie.
Well, depending on when your year ends, right? You guys are fiddling with the numbers to see how close we are to EBITDA, right?
Yep. Yeah. So for us, as we think about planning for next year, it's, again, forecasting is a really big one for us. I think that probably will never go away. Also, looking at what are things that we can change to help, drive better results and give, better plans that are simpler for our reps. So we're looking at comp, headcount planning for TAM, cleaning all that up. And then, really looking to, how are we going to help make sure that we have the right people in the right roles, selling the right playbook. We're really, working on segmenting the business. And so I think really exciting that we can, go deeper on these. So it's not just like your standard, hey, I work in, B2B or B2C or whatever it is. It's really going deep on some of these really specific segments. So super excited for 2022.
Yeah. And for those at home, most of it's already figured out by now.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're coming to the table, if you're a new rev leader and you're like, oh, I want to introduce this new concept to such and such, guess what? It's probably too late. Capacity planning. We're already negotiating comp plans, reorganization, territory planning, all that stuff has already been sort of mapped out, especially now. I think with COVID, that's one thing that has expedited things, is because there's no longer those sales kickoffs. They're virtual sales kickoffs. And usually everything got held up by the sales kickoff. And when you're getting everyone together in a physical world, it would usually be end of July, maybe early February when you can do it. And that's when you wanted to unveil the new stuff. Well, guess what? It's usually virtual kickoffs can happen at any time, and you're usually getting it going in the first week.
I was just talking about you're missing your number, then you guys screw around with the budgets. That's all.
One thing KG said, and I'll bring that up, because if you overperform by 20%, right, and you're hitting your quota, there are things that happen, especially at software companies. If deals come in on the last day, guess what? Orders seems to sit on it for a day and move it to the next quarter. So there's always good things when you overperform. There's always ways you can play around with when the deals are entered. But it becomes a problem when you're missing your numbers and you're missing your forecast. If we're hitting, we'll still yell at the person, but maybe to the board, they don't know that we just buried 3 deals and they happen to get entered in November 1st.
KG, can you ask the TikTok question?
You got it. So JM, this is that 3-minute sales ops tip subject. It's 3 minutes because if you could believe it, Pete cuts it up and puts it onto TikTok. Yes, Pete's on TikTok. So yeah, so we're
Beat.
it has me beat too. Exactly. He's cutting edge.
Much cooler than I am.
That's right. So
you should see his dance move. I mean, they're great. His dance.
No, we don't want to see.
Can we put that on TikTok?
No, with his replaced knees and everything. Jesus. All right. JM, here we go. So JM, as you know, our listeners are entrepreneurs and sales ops leaders, some of which are newly minted. We're starting a new segment here, and we've been running a segment called the 3-minute sales tip. We're going to make it Rev Ops tip for you, of course. What's one 3-minute tip that you typically give to your sales ops team members that you can give to our listeners now?
I don't even know if I need 3 minutes. It's short and sweet. So your data is your currency. Your data is your product. What are you going to do to make yourself proud? How are you going to use it to build your empire? How are you going to make sure that you can track things and use them as insights, and that everybody across the organization knows and understands what they are, so that you can then, more people can hit their goals. You can then be involved in that, and you are a full owner in that sales process.
Love it. Great work. Great work. As a sidebar, by the way, JM, during that period of time when I talked to you originally, I was networking like the living daylights and speaking to sales ops and rev ops professionals across the world, actually, to try and find a sales ops leader at ZipRecruiter. And I kept asking this question, like, what are the main components that should always exist on a sales ops team. You know, sales enablement should always be there. Forecast ownership should always be there. What are the things? And what I found was that there was no standard answer. Because it was such a new discipline, and there was no standard answer that like sales ops or rev ops should always include, you know, these pillars. You know, should training be underneath there, which is different than enablement? You know, should it be underneath there? But there was one theme that kept coming up again and again and again and again, which is related to what your 3-minute sales tip was: insights. That is the primary responsibility of the sales ops and rev ops team that I learned, and I would love to hear your feedback, and then we can wrap. But you know, your job is to make sure that the truth comes out of rev ops and sales ops, so that everybody can make sure that we know what the real numbers are. And furthermore, the rev ops and sales ops professionals are the ones that are supposed to be scrutinizing the pipeline in detail to look for those areas of optimization. Does that sound about right? Insights. You've said that several times today.
Yeah, I mean, well, it all goes back to, if you can have people putting in as much data as they want. You can require as many fields, but if you're not constantly questioning that data and saying, does this sound right? Does that pass the sanity check here? These reps are putting in information, and it's great, it's helpful, but are they really driving, you know, decisions in the business, or are we just making them fill out stuff to fill out? So, you know, your insights are really only going to be as good as how much you scrutinize everything.
JM, thanks for coming on the show today. What a great time.
Thanks for having me. You didn't give Jamie too hard of a time.
Oh, don't worry. A lot more editing to do. Hey, what's the best way for our listeners to learn more about you or connect with you?
Yeah, so you can find me on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/in/JM Wilke, or feel free to shoot me an email, jm@Qualia, Qualia. LinkedIn's really the easiest one, so don't be a stranger. I'm open to chat anytime.
All right, great. We'll put all the links in the podcast notes. Thanks for listening to the SaasHoles. On behalf of Jamie, KG, and myself, Pete, we thank you for listening, and we ask that you give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. If they can't hear us, we can't help them. Subscribe to our newsletter. Everything will be in the podcast notes, especially your opportunity to buy us a beer on Patreon/SaasHole. We thank you for listening. Cue the music.